Okay, so guys, what we're going to do is we are going to look at natural selection some more now. Okay, and what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look at this document here. Evolution by natural selection questions. Please use the basic outline of natural selection process to fill in the gaps of the characteristics and describe exactly how and why the following happened. For each, you must say how the change happened. Arthur, what does it always begin with?
Random mutation.
Excellent. What the advantage is, why it's an advantage. So, Sam, if a snail changed colour, why would that be an advantage?
Because it can camouflage into its surroundings.
That's not the advantage.
It has also can get food.
No, it won't get any more food because it's if it's a snail. What would?
It's fine.
Say again. Say again.
Herbivore, so it doesn't need to harm.
No. What do you think the biggest issue? And this is a good question to ask, guys. What's the biggest issue for a survivor for a snail? Do you think? What's the biggest danger of death?
Speed. Like just get trampled on.
Do you know what? Okay. Do you know that birds eat snails? Do you know that snails are prey?
Yeah.
Right. So anything that's a prey animal, the biggest danger is going to come from a predator. Okay. Anything that is not a prey animal, the biggest danger is going to be starvation. Okay. So the advantage for a snail would be that it camouflaged, yes, but then predators like birds are not able to see it as much. So it's got more chance of surviving.
Yeah.
What would happen to those without the advantage? They die. And how long would it take? A long or short time? Okay? So, what I'd like us to do is, I'd just like to look at these and then we're going to not do them yet, we're going to do them towards the end of the lesson. So, 1. How did giraffes' necks become longer? 6 marks. How did a polar bear become so white? 6 marks. How did the kangaroo become such a big jumper? 6 marks. Okay. So, what we're going to do though, is we are going to look at a video made by me. Has everyone got headphones?
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay, we'll watch it together. Okay. So, I just want to, we're going to ask questions as we go. So can everyone just shut their computer screens, please? Okay. Before we start, what do we think? How does the process of evolution occur? Can you shut the screens, please? Ready? Artificial gene manipulation, natural selection, genetic engineering, or artificial selection? It's natural selection, good. Okay. So let's see what this absolute legend has to say. We're going to talk about evolution, and I've put the key terms that we need to insert into an answer for an exam question on the right hand side, and these are the terms that I'm going to be describing as we go through. About evolution, is this always the same? It is always these 5 things that happen which lead to evolution. So no matter what the characteristic, which means the feature of an organism, the change would have occurred by this 5-step process. And then, if there was going to be number 6, it would be over a long, long time. The changes in the whole population would happen, so that you would have either a new feature or even a new species. So, number 1, random mutation. Well, evolution always starts with a random mutation. And a mutation means... Okay. What does evolution by natural selection always start with?
Mutation.
Random mutation. Can't stress that enough. Okay. If it's a random mutation, can I just check something? Is it deliberate then? No. You don't get a polar bear who's slightly grey thinking, oh, I want to turn a bit whiter. It just happens randomly, and if that works, that works. Okay? There is no direction or intention to evolution. Okay? Means a change in the DNA. And so DNA is a double-stranded molecule that's found in every one of your cells. What is a mutation defined as? Sam? A change in the cell membrane, a change in the DNA, a change of mind, a new thought process.
Change in DNA.
Good, good. In the nucleus. And the DNA is a recipe that tells your cells how to make a you. Or the DNA of a tiger tells the tiger cells how to make a tiger. And the DNA that you have, or a tiger has, or any organism has, comes from its parents. And so for us, for example, we have our DNA in 46 chromosomes. And they are arranged in 23 pairs. And we get 23 chromosomes from our father and 23 chromosomes from our mother. A tiger will have a different number of chromosomes. And a chromosome is a strand of this DNA. On the chromosome will be specific sections. How many chromosomes does each human cell have in it?
48.
You were half right, you were wrong. Why is he not? 46. 23, so you're right. We both, male and female, both contribute 43. I think you just got the maths wrong. 46. Okay? So 46 chromosomes in each human cell. 23 from the mum, 23 from the dad. Okay? And that is why, when they combine, we look a bit like our parents, for example. Okay? $46. Which code for a characteristic. So on this strand of DNA, this particular section here might code. So a gene is a section of DNA that codes for a specific protein or characteristic. Lined up against that, icon. And we call a version of a gene an allele, which I mentioned over here. So DNA controls your... Okay, so this is really important, guys, because now we've learned about natural selection in a basic way. We're nailing down. A gene is a sequence of DNA that codes for a protein. A version of a gene is called an allele. Do you remember we did this last term? Remember? Okay? Allele. So when we're going to get the random mutation, we're going to get a version of a gene which is just different. Randomly. And if it comes out in the individual and it's an advantage, we're going to just see that it's going to be chosen. Characteristic. Okay, so what is an allele? Artie, a chromosome, a version of a gene, or a biological glue? Excellent, well done. Characteristics. So a mutation is a change in the DNA. So can you say here that I've got some DNA here, and if the eye colour for this section said blue eyes, if I was to change this DNA, then I might change it to green. And you would have had a mutation, a change in the DNA. So, what does this mean? Well, a key word here is random. Every one of your cells has 46 chromosomes. That gives you all of the genetic information for your body. And then when you become sexually mature, if you are a man, you produce sperm. And these sperms have 23 chromosomes in them. And if you are a woman, in the ovary, you produce eggs. And these eggs have 23 chromosomes. And these two will come together in a process called fertilization. So when can a change of DNA happen? Well, in the process of making sperm and eggs, there's what we call a lot of genetic variation. And that means every sperm is different and every egg is different. And there can be just some natural variation, but there can also be, in the production of these sperm and eggs, a change in the DNA, mutations. But they're not controlled and they are not designed, they are random. And you can understand this by understanding that when you are creating sperm and eggs, you are changes in DNA mutations are Freddie, planned, designed, or random? Beautiful. Copying and dealing with billions and billions of molecules of the way that the DNA is made up. It's made up of what we call bases, and they are made up of letters, A, T, G, and C. And there's about 3 billion of them. And the process of separating them and making sperm and eggs creates the ability of mutations, of changes in the DNA.
Okay, so there's a bit of a recap of DNA. Do you remember DNA is made up of 4 different letters? A, T, G, C. And so if you have a gene for blue eyes, for example, you're going to have, let's say, 1,000 letters in a row, which means blue. If 3 of those letters get changed in the process of making sperm and eggs, then that may not be quite blue. That might be bluey grey. And that could be an advantage.
And just randomly, there might be one that comes to our second point, which is advantageous. I have to tell you, we have pretty good biological systems. So most mutations that happen in DNA are not good. I think 99.9% of them actually mess around with a... Most mutations are good, Sam, bad, or make no difference.
Good.
No. Okay, this is a really important point. Look how amazing your body is. Okay, you do all of your life processes so successfully. You will live, for all intents and purposes, probably till you're about 100. Okay, outside anything specific happening, like a disease or something, when we hope it doesn't. That is an incredibly successful machine you've got. And what you don't do is you don't screw around with that machine. 99.9% of mutations are bad because they get in the way of what's already almost perfect. But very, very occasionally, okay, very, very occasionally one will come along that actually is good. And that's why it takes so long for natural selection to occur. It might take hundreds of thousands of years for something to occur. Like a polar bear might have been slightly greyer, and it didn't turn white for 100,000 years. Why? Because it took 100,000 years or 90,000 years for a mutation to come along that was better, white. A mutation might come along that was black. Nope, that's not selected, they die. Okay, so it's really important to remember that they're either bad or make no difference. 99.9% of them.
A system in our bodies, whether we be tigers or humans or plants, which work really well. But very occasionally, a change in the DNA will lead to an advantageous version. And that version of the gene is in the liver. So, let me just go into a little more detail here. The got a chromosome here, one from dad and one from mum. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn these into giraffes. So, daddy giraffe and mum giraffe. And they have both got a gene that they donate here for neck length.
So the gene for neck length.
And as a result of a mutation, let's say that the mum had this when she was making the eggs in the process of what we call meiosis, there was a mutation which kind of just changed the DNA on her chromosome.
It would have changed the
And
ATGCs.
linked to that change, a very long neck. Now, if we think about evolution and work backwards, there would have been an organism, and you're going to have to forgive my rubbish art here, that had a kind of longish neck. And then there was a random mutation, which meant that the neck.
My drawing skills are awful, childlike, or good. I think they're actually childlike. I think I might have put childlike. Yes. Okay, so here's the long neck.
Longer. Now.
Okay, so I think we can actually fast forward now because we're just going over the process. So let's think about this long neck. We're going to leave Mr. Abraham too. We're just going to go through this process. So, Freddie, this individual was born with a long neck because there was a change in the DNA. What's the advantage to that new organism? Brilliant. Its long neck is not the advantage necessarily. It's the fact that it can get food. What happens if the others can get food too, Freddie? When you say it can get food, others can get food. What can it do? Be more specific.
Get food, which is like in trees,
Okay, get food that's higher. Right. So that is an advantage, isn't it? Because it means you're out competing. Where everyone else is scrabbling around at a certain level, you've got food you can get which nobody else can compete with. That's an advantage. Callum, if this giraffe gets more food, what's it more likely to do? Good, and we have a word for live longer. It's more likely to. The word for live longer is survive. More likely to survive, isn't it? If it's getting loads of food, it's predators that are going to get it, Artie. It's disease. But it's not competition with other animals so much. And that's a really great thing. It's got more chance of survival. If you take away one of the things that could kill you, which often is not having enough food, you've got more chance of surviving. And then we just finish this off. If they've got more chance of survival, they're more likely to get to the age of reproduction and have sex or breed. If they breed and the genes are passed on in the form of the allele, because actually this could be better. The gene for long neck is in every single giraffe. It's the allele, the version that says long neck, which we want. So this could actually be expressed better by saying the allele is passed on to the offspring. Sam, what's going to happen to that offspring? What features that offspring going to have?
It's going to have the mutation.
Good, excellent, love that terminology. And therefore, it's going to have a long neck, isn't it? Artie, if it's got a long neck, tell me what it's got more chance of.
Getting food.
Good, and therefore more chance of survival, which means it has an increased chance of reproduction. And then on the other side of the coin, all of the time it's got an increased chance of survival. What's happened to the ones who've just got a normal length neck? Yeah, particularly when things get tough. In times of famine, you might wipe out every single one that hasn't got a long neck. Okay? And that is called a selection pressure. If you did it over just normal time, the longer necks might replace the giraffes over 100,000 years, 10,000 years. But if you create a real selection pressure, which is suddenly famine, then food is so scarce that all those guys, they're dead. It's only the giraffes that can eat both levels that can survive. And then over time, all of them have long necks. And that's our process of evolution. So now that we've got that, I'd like us now to go back to on our Google Classroom, please. Can you open up your laptops? And I'd like you please to, now there's going to be repetition here, and this is what I want you to think of. I want it to be so formulaic when you get an evolution question, you just get 100%. So there's, how did giraffes get necks become longer? For 6 months. How did polar bears become whiter? And how did kangaroos learn to jump so high? Okay? You have got 10 minutes to do those 3. Just bullet points. Okay? There's going to be a lot of repetition, except for the actual feature, why it's in. Look what the instructions say. How did the change happen? Say what the advantage is. Why is it an advantage? What would happen to those without the advantage? And then state what would happen over a long period of time. 10 minutes, go.